What's going on, everybody? I'd like to welcome y'all back to the Diagnosis Success Podcast, where we talk about motivation, inspiration, dedication, and as always, just tapping into your higher self. And as you all know, we just keep the most dynamic individuals on this podcast. I really like to label them as like trailblazers in their respective fields. And today, basically, we got someone who's super talented. He's a businessman, entrepreneur, music producer extraordinaire. We are talking about no other than my brother Hilton Wright II. Hilton, what's up, bro?
Hey, what's going on, Kyle? Good to see you. Good to be here.
Man, same here, bro. Same here, man. We happy to have you, man. So we definitely gonna have a great interview, bro.
Cool. I'm ready.
Definitely, man. So, you know what I normally like to do when we first start, like just having interviews with our guests is kind of just start from the beginning, because a lot of times people, like that saying goes, people don't know, you don't know where you're headed unless you know where you came from. So
Right.
for the people who aren't too familiar with you or your musical journey, can you just talk about like the early years for you, like growing up, and how you transitioned to actually getting into music? Like, what did that look like for you?
Definitely. So I'm originally from the Detroit, Michigan area, right outside Detroit City, Southfield, Farmington Hills, like suburbs right outside the city. And, we have a strong background in music with, Motown. And even though Motown left Detroit in like the 70s, the talent and the remnants and descendants of, like all of that, all of the talent from Motown is like still in the city. And so I always say, you can throw a rock and hit somebody with a great voice in Detroit, and find a songwriter or a great musician. Like any band you go see play, like any A-list artist, someone in their band is from Detroit. So music is in the city. And so just growing up there naturally, I was born in '86, so that was like right before the bad era for Michael Jackson. And so I was just captivated by MJ and got to grow up, in that like prime MJ era. And that really was like the starting point for me musically. And was just listening to Mike and then singing in the choir at church and doing Michael Jackson and talent shows. And then I was playing in the band at school, and all of that just kind of led to when I got to high school. My cousin and I, we were rapping and producing all of our music, and started a label where we would put that out. And so, one thing just kind of like led to the next. It just always like evolved. And in 2004, I graduated from high school, went down to Atlanta to go to Morehouse. And when I was in Atlanta, that's really kind of like where my career started professionally, because that was the first time I was in a city where decisions were being made, and it was real like industry people that you could connect with and opportunities. And so Atlanta just changed my life. And yeah, I hit the ground running when I got there. And just all the industry events and beat battles, and just built up my network with people. And one thing that I'll say is that I got to see firsthand, that I can continue to see firsthand in my life, is like, how I meet these people in all different levels and positions in the industry. And over the years, I get to see them level up. So a lot of people that I met, that were like interns and assistants in 2000, 4, 5, 6, are now like VPs and like head of companies, and, the decision makers. And so I've really just been blessed to have this incredible network of people. And just really, I was really just kind of like go hard or go home.
Mm,
And, when I learned very early that you have to be ready at all times, because Atlanta was the city where, you go to the mall and you run into an artist here, or, being on campus in the AUC, it's always artists. I remember Nas pulled up one day in the Phantom, like him and his dad
wow.
were going to speak to a class. And So, I used to have like beat CDs on me. I would keep one in every coat that I had, in my glove compartment, in my backpack, because boom, if I happen to see, oh damn, there go Joel Santana
Mhm.
in Linux. Hey man, here go a beat CD. And so, I was really heavy in just on the production tip at that point. And so yeah, I just learned to be ready, kept good notes, kept good calendar, contacts, reminders, and people just saw that I was hungry, I was always on it, and I just killed every opportunity that came my way. And at the same time, while I was doing that, my cousin, we were production partners at the time. He was back in Detroit, and he met this kid who had just rapped for Kanye at the radio station, and he was like, "Yo, you want to sign me?" We started making music with him, and that was Big Sean, and we just made music with Sean and would send it to Kanye, and that eventually led to Sean getting signed at Good Music, and then subsequently Def Jam after that, and so that was, that's just always a big part in my story because um, we helped cultivate an artist sound and helped to get their career off the ground, and so a lot of people don't have that opportunity or that type of success. We all work with artists, and when we're in the very beginning broke stages in our living rooms and basements, but to see something go from like there to here is just, I'll always cherish that. So, but from there went on to work with um other artists like Mike Posner, who also kind of like similar story with Sean, to where we all came up together. Sofia Reyes, who is a major Latin pop superstar now, but was unsigned as well when I first started working with her, and I did 2 songs on her first album. And really, like, all the success I've had has been like those same types of situations where they're unsigned, and the music that we do together kind of like helps them get their deal and get their career off the ground.
Mhm.
So, I mean, other people like Faith Evans and Drake, Rick Ross, Pusha T, by way of like some features with Sean, and then worked on Blackish on the Juneteenth episode, helping to produce and co-write one of the songs, and work on another one. So yeah, man, it's just been a lot, and yes, it's been great, man.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And just to unpack some of those
Mhm.
dynamic things that you just said, because that was just like a lot of powerful stuff, man. Like
Okay.
that was powerful, bro.
Nobody didn't run
That was like
on.
a bomb, like whoosh. Like,
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to unpack was you spoke about Morehouse. And
Mhm.
one of my cousins, Carol Bell, she went to Morehouse, and I have like some other great friends that went to Morehouse
Or,
as
or
well.
or did she go to Spelman?
She went to well, wait a minute. Morehouse is that's
Uh,
the
that's all male.
that's the male side
Yeah,
of it.
and
Spelman is the female side, right?
right.
Right. Yeah, she was in Spelman. Yeah.
Okay.
So that
Okay,
right.
cool.
So
Yeah.
basically like
They
the whole
right next door to each other.
right next to,
So
so when I think Morehouse, I just think, because I never
right, I
went,
got you.
right?
I
But
got you.
to hear her talk about the HBCU experience and how
Hmm.
it's so rich in culture, just in terms
Yeah,
from even just from being a minority, to be
yeah,
surrounded with like-minded people that are driven, that are
yeah,
motivated, that they just have ambition, because it's something about
yeah.
making a cognizant decision to say, I'm going to attend a historical Black college university. That means
Right,
I'm invested not only in myself, but I'm invested in my culture. I'm invested in our
right.
history and our people. So can you kind of just talk about that experience for you and what it was like for listeners that they might not necessarily have attended a HBCU, but they still have questions about it? Like, what was your experience like?
Man, it was great. It was life changing. I mean, I always say, Detroit raised me and Morehouse made me,
Mm, mm,
because it really kind of like gave me all of the game. Because with Morehouse specifically, it's all male, and it's a rather prestigious academic school. And the funny thing about that is I was, not a great student in school. I was, poor academics all through school. So I barely got into Morehouse. I got into Morehouse on academic probation. And so I had to perform above a certain level, like my first year in order for me to stay. And then I barely graduated.
But why'd
So,
you barely graduate?
well, man, I've just always been so focused on the music. Like I knew what I was trying to do when I got there. I think when I got there, I was still like rapping like that first like semester. I was still kind of like on the artist tip. But
Oh, so you
as
used to
I
be an artist, like a art to art.
yeah, well, everybody used to rap in high
Right,
school.
right. Wait,
You, you
wait,
know,
wait. Just so they get a fun fact. What was your rap name? What was your musician name? Like your rap name?
so I went by Deuce. So Deuce
Deuce.
is my nickname just in life in general because I'm named after my dad. And
Okay.
so he decided to call me Deuce, like when my mom was pregnant with me. And so I just went by Deuce, it was just
Okay.
natural. All my family calls me Deuce.
I got you.
So yeah, and so yeah, I used to rap and I was still kind of like on that, but then when I got down there and I saw like, the working industry, and I was like, man, I think I really, the fact that I could get these, beats that I was making that were really for like my cousin and I, or, like selling them to like local artists back home, I could
Mhm.
really maybe like get them the Ludacris or,
Mm.
the T.I., and so I was like, I really want to kind of like focus on being, a producer. And so yeah, but anyway, it was cool because Morehouse is in the AUC, which is the Atlanta University Center. So it's surrounded by Spelman, Clark Atlanta University, Morse Brown, which while I was there and now doesn't have the attendance like it did back in the day because they had lost their accreditation. But when they were like fully on campus, it was like maybe the size of like all three of those schools put together, And then it has ITC, which is a seminary, and then it has Morehouse School of Medicine. Same name as Morehouse College, but completely separate entity. But it's a graduate medical school. So, for me now coming from Detroit is 80% Black. So even when I was staying out, in the suburbs outside the city, we have a Southfield is like a predominantly Black suburb, which is kind of like rare like as I've traveled around, but like Atlanta was just like different. Like when T.I. talks about how Atlanta is Wakanda, it really kind of is like the closest thing to what we see in the movie. And
Mhm.
so on campus, you think about how Morehouse and Spelman being like these academically rigorous, prestigious schools. You're talking about going to every state, getting like that top Black student in like all the schools around the country, and then bringing them down in that like square radius or whatever. And so I was around some of the brightest minds and like the sharpest guys from all over. So you just get to like soak up game from other guys that are on the same tip like you. Everybody like at Morehouse is like trying to be, this CEO or this top lawyer, this judge, so on and so forth. And I just soaked up game. Because when I was in high school, I went to a predominantly Black high school, graduated from there, and I've never known Black males to be interested in academics. We always just kind of like wanted to get by, and
Mhm.
it was more so the girls, and the girls maybe like do the guys' homework. Like that was never like a thing. And so it blew my mind. It still to this day does. Like at Morehouse, how like you know that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to like getting A's is cool. Oh man, this professor is tripping, and like they're studying. Like I always kind of like even felt out of that because, like I said, I was always just trying to get by. But yeah, that was the thing that was really empowering was just seeing. And also another thing is you're comfortable around, folks that look like you in your own skin. So, growing up, I was like in predominantly white schools up until 10th grade when we had moved. And so you might not want to ask a certain question because you don't want to, look like you don't understand, even though you might not be the only person, but at
Right.
times you feel like you have the weight of the Black community like
On your
on you,
shoulders. Got to represent.
yeah,
Yeah.
representing, and like my mom would tell me that, and so you get down to Morehouse and it's like no one's looking at you like the Black kid. Everybody in here, is
Mhm.
Black, and so yeah, I think it was just great, and really, man, like it's really just like you're in a bubble. I mean, technically, because obviously you're on this huge college campus with all these academically upward folk. But like even graduation, post graduation, like all the people I know through like Morehouse and Spelman, and my wife went to Spelman, like it's really just kind of like crazy, just being tapped into this upper echelon of just like Black folks that's like, I mean, bro, I know people like everywhere, just because of that. And so it was empowering. That's what it was. Um, and especially being in a city like Atlanta, which, like I said, is just like a city filled with like Black success, I think it really helped me when I came out to places like LA. Because I know who I am,
Mhm.
and a lot of people, a lot of people, might not know, and I think you got to know who you are.
That's a fact. And I agree with that 110%. I feel like the power of knowledge of self, knowing who you are and having those roots,
Hmm.
because I feel like and I know, for the listeners, like we might be veering off a little bit from music, but this is important.
Right,
I feel that
right.
you know what I'm saying? I feel like culturally, especially with minorities, historically, when you look like a Black person, when you look like a certain shade, that the things that have happened historically have torn you apart from your culture, from your history. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
slavery and all the things that
Right,
they did, putting people from Africa that they knew intentionally spoke different languages from different tribes, so they couldn't communicate amongst
right,
themselves, and then it's like you bring
right,
them over
right.
here. So, that kind of got ripped apart and destroyed. So to be able to have these HBCUs, that's very, very important. You know what I'm saying? So, that's
Yeah,
awesome, man. I'm happy to hear that, bro. Um,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
one thing that I want to say to you too, man, because you got so many accomplishments, so many dope fire records, man. Like, can you let us know like some of the records that are special to you, that are the ones that are like the most like, wow, man, I love that record, man. Like that speaks to my soul. Like what are some of your biggest accomplishments / records that you're proud of?
Man, it's crazy like to hear you say that and other people say that because I feel like I'm just getting started and like I haven't really done anything, but that's because I'm on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
like so, objectivity is great, but obviously I would say that the Juneteenth episode of Blackish was just really big moment for the culture. Um, it was big ratings wise, and they got nominated for an Emmy that season. And the episode I worked on was the season premiere. But you know what that did, it was like a real moment because I heard how Tim Cook from Apple, he added Juneteenth to the Apple calendar after seeing that episode.
Wow.
Um, in addition to just kind of like this awareness of how when we had the racial kind of like reckoning last year, that Juneteenth snowball had really kind of like picked up a lot with that episode. And so when it kind of like helped with the movement to have it become a federal holiday. And
Mm-hmm.
so like being a part of that, to me is I've had these moments that are kind of like, in my opinion, more special than a number one record. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the fact that you can be a part of like a moment culturally that, a lot of people look to and will look at, and that helped with the overall movement. And that, the same thing, like I was saying, like even with like Big Sean, like all the songs that we did for Big Sean, the majority of his fans don't know. You know, we did like the majority of like his first two mixtapes. We did the first song that he ever did with Drake called Made. That was on his third mixtape. And we did his very first single called Get You Some that premiered on 106 and Park, like back when back when like it was on and popping and it was the new joint of the day. And so,
Mm-hmm.
but like, I haven't worked with Sean in years. And so, like I said, I'm not a part of like his modern discography. But what everything we did that helped get him to where he is now, to me is kind of like I said, like for me, it's kind of like more special than just like if I would have just got like a beat to him and it became like number one, because I've been in the trenches with the artist. I know every step in that process. And now I'm also able to identify like which train is going to like really take off. And I know kind of like what that process entails and so on and so forth. So for me, I would say, so far in my career, those two things. But I'm also really excited about everything I'm doing with 715, which is my new company that I started last year. And that's like really, like where my focus is.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And I view you as like an architect because you're able to work with this talent, cultivate the talent, and it takes off, which is the most important because that beginning stage, it's like when Barry Gordy had Motown and like he would cultivate the talent. So it wasn't just about the music. He could help them, just very hands-on. So that's awesome, man. That's really great.
No, thank you, man. That's a big compliment because I love architecture, and I'm always like I have HGTV on like all the time, like in the background when I'm working on music. And
That's what's
that's my
up.
go-to channel. I know a lot of people be on ESPN. I be on the HGTV
That's what's up.
because because I see it the same way. Like everything when I sit down and I'm working on a verse or a chorus or some track idea, like it's the same idea of like going, especially like when renovation shows. I love when they're like, man, here's this like, this house that really might be like trash to the layman, just like regular eyes. But boom, if we do this, take this away, think about it like this, or we could do this. Like that's the same way that I see like the music making process and really how I like to, approach things. I love kind of like working with things that are, forgotten or things that, have potential or like a small nugget of an idea.
That's dope. That's fire. That's fire, man.
Yeah, no,
That leads
thank
me to something else, man. A question that I have for you
you.
that we ask everybody that comes on the podcast. So that question is, what is your mantra? And everybody knows like my mantra is persistence wears down resistance. So having that mental
Mm-hmm.
fortitude, no matter what
Mm-hmm.
obstacles may come, what challenges, you don't ever get derailed. You stay focused, you locked in, and you just crush your
Mm-hmm.
goals every time. Another one I have is collaboration is greater than competition. Like I truly believe in the
Mm-hmm.
power of working with like-minded people and people that are driven
Mm-hmm.
like you, motivated, and you guys can just come together to create something phenomenal. So for the
Right.
listeners out there, like what is your mantra? What's something that keeps you going and has kept you going throughout the years?
Um, one thing that always speaks to me is, if you stay ready, you never have to get it ready.
Mm, mm,
You know, that for me is like I stay ready. I don't like playing catch up. I have, I think I have great foresight, and so I'm always thinking 6 months out, a year out, and
mm.
I don't like surprises. And when surprises do come, I got something tucked away to, take care of that. So if you stay ready, you ain't never got to get ready.
That's a
Um,
fact. That's a fact, man. Well,
yeah. So
I definitely, man, I appreciate, man, all the gems that you provided today, brother. And we looking forward
for
to the
sure.
actual seminar, man. People
Yeah,
really looking
man,
forward
it's gonna
to
be
it.
great.
Yeah, definitely,
Absolutely.
bro.
No, thank you for having me, man. I'm excited.
Definitely, bro. Definitely. So anything that you got going on upcoming, man, that you want to let the people know about, brother? Anything you want to tell them? Like what's on the horizon? I know you got the new company. So what's on the horizon for you guys?
Yeah, so you can check me out at HiltonWright.com. That's Hilton like the hotel, Wright like the Wright brothers. And then it's links to like everything from there. And so 715 is my new company, and it's really a forward thinking, music company, in that, for all intents and purposes, it's a record label, but I am the sole artist that's signed to it, and I'm collaborating with different artists for different projects. So, very similar to what we see Khaled do today, and Quincy Jones has done, Mark Ronson, so on and so forth. And so I'm working on, a string of releases for 2022 right now, next year. And, I put out 4 records already, and with a range of different artists. The idea is kind of like working with artists from all genres. And so that's what I'm excited about right now. And it's been a lot of fun. So yeah, 715music.com, the word 7 spelled out, 15music.com. And just want people to come along with this journey as I kind of like take on this musical vagabond road, and just go from like one artist to the next, one idea to execution. So yeah, it's fun, man.
Awesome. Well, we definitely gonna keep it locked in and locked and loaded. Looking forward to all the great things you got coming, bro.
Appreciate it, man.
Of course, brother. And for all the listeners out there, Hilton's definitely going to be on the actual panel for the seminar. So definitely tap in all those gems that he got, man. He got the jewelry store, he got the gems, So yeah, definitely, man. So yeah, so we appreciate you, brother. Thanks again, man.
All right, man. Take care.
Definitely, man. And once again, this was the Diagnosis Success Podcast. As always, stay motivated, inspired, and tap into your higher self.